Welcome to episode 282 of Control the Controllables. And it's Roland Garros time. It's our French Open preview. And I am bringing to you a fantastic team of panelists. Two of them that are actually in Paris right now. We've got Freddie Nielsen, the ever-present, the Davis Cup captain of Denmark, but also the coach of August Holmgren, who is playing the last round of qualies as we record. So Freddie actually has to leave a little bit early at the end of the podcast. So apologies for that, but that is for a good reason, because August plays tomorrow morning in Roland Garros. And then we got Mike James making his debut on the team, on the panel. Mike has been the performance analytics team for many players across the board, from Stan Wawrinka to Iga Swiatek, to the current team of Oracle, who are working with a lot of top players in the world. But he's also the coach of Linda Fruhvirtova, and she's also in the last round of qualifying in Roland Garros on Friday. So by the time this goes out, we'll probably understand if they both qualified. But fantastic to have their insights on the show. And then Candy Reid, who is a voice of tennis. We hear her everywhere. She used to be the CNN broadcaster many years ago, and then she's just been going from strength to strength, telling us all about tennis around the world. An incredible commentator, a fantastic player, a Tennessee Vol back in the day, and someone who knows tennis like the back of her hand. So lots for us to talk about. Hope you're going to enjoy this one, and hope you're excited for an incredible Roland Garros. I'm going to pass you over to our French Open preview panelists. So a big welcome to our French Open panelists. How are we all doing?
Hi, Dan.
Great, thanks.
Great.
And we've got, I believe, maybe a virgin on the review preview show.
Debut is a better word, I think.
He's got two children, Dan.
Debut, the first for Mike James. So Mike, a special welcome. I know you've been on the podcast, but you've not joined the panel before. So we're looking forward to getting your insights. A big welcome to the show.
Well, I can tell my parents now I've made it in life. Now I've got the nod for this amazing episode.
We like to think so here. Control the Controllables. And look, as ever, guys, lots to talk about. I know you guys in Paris as well, Mike and Freddie. So we'll certainly be kind of delving into finding out all about the conditions. We love a chat on conditions. We're not going to talk about tennis balls for 25 minutes, as we sometimes do, just to pre-warn you. I'm going to give you a 30-second cutoff as you tell us about the Roland Garros ball. But actually, the starting point for me tonight, Carlos Alcaraz, not in the French Open, has already withdrawn from Wimbledon. What's going on, Mike?
Well, I have no insight to anybody else currently on the tour. I mean, when I was traveling with Holger, we would practice with Carlos a lot. We would see him a lot. Everybody knows what an amazing character and person he is. And, he has almost too much time for everybody, which I find amazing. But look, he's dealing with a wrist injury. There's officially not been a statement in terms of what type of wrist injury that is. Originally, everyone's like, he's only going to miss Rome, and then immediately cancels Rome and Roland Garros, and then everyone's thinking he's going to be back for Queens and Wimbledon, and he's got rid of that. Now, the funny thing is, he can miss even Wimbledon, and he probably still stays at number 2 because he's so far ahead of 3. So, actually, from a ranking point of view, I mean, imagine he won the French and Wimbledon and Queens, and he can still stay at that ranking. So I'm a little concerned in terms of his career, because wrists, let's be honest, wrists are a tricky body part that you cannot absorb and hide as a tennis player. So I'm a little concerned that they've skipped 2 Grand Slams he was defending. And yeah, I wish him all the best recovery, and I hope he can come back for the US swing and be back to being Carlos from that point of view.
And in Monte Carlo, Candy, he spoke to us all, and he almost sounded a little bit down in Monte Carlo. He was almost kind of handing the reins to world number one to Yannick Sinner the day before he played him in the final. Not so long after that, obviously in Barcelona, he played his first round match, had to withdraw from his second round match. It just seems like we're not getting any information here. And has he had an operation? What is happening? Is there a bigger concern here? Is something else going on? What is happening with Carlos Alcaraz?
I just know that he's played a lot of tennis, and you sort of worry when you watch Carlos Alcaraz, and perhaps the other guests will confirm or deny this, but you worry with the way he plays how his body's going to hold up. He loves to hit that little drop shot, doesn't he? And he really takes care of it with the wrist. And if he hits just a couple of those a little bit off, I mean, you can do a lot of damage. As Mike said, it's one of the body parts that's just so fickle. And we've seen so many terrible wrist injuries in the past. They really affect players. It's one that you have to make sure you're absolutely ready to come back from. You can't come back too early. And a lot of players will tell you, they're a bit worried even when they come back. So I think he's doing the right thing by taking as much time as he needs, a little bit like Holger with his Achilles rupture. I mean, I know he was trying to come back at Hamburg, which is what I'm commentating on this week. And rightly, if he wasn't ready, he said, I can't come back yet. I'm going to come back for the grass court season. You have to be so attentive to your body, I think, Dan, because these guys are just highly tuned racehorses, aren't they? And they just have to be so ultra careful. But it is a strange one to already pull out of Wimbledon months in advance.
Is it? And Freddie, it's like I had a conversation in Miami with Mark Petchey. I'm sure he won't mind me saying. And when he was watching, obviously we also need to remember, he didn't quite look himself during that swing as well, Indian Wells and Miami. And in Miami, he lost to Seb Korda, and he looked burnt out. It looked like someone who had played too much tennis. We're seeing the same with maybe Sabalenka right now. I think we're so used to Sabalenka just kind of making her way through the draws. These top players, they have a lot of commitments off the court. You're going deep into these tournaments time and time again. Is this a sign once again that there is too much tennis? There is too much going on. These 2-week Masters 1000s layered on top of the Grand Slams, that maybe this is also a little bit of mental fatigue as well as physical fatigue.
Possibly, very much so. But the one thing I kind of noticed, and maybe there's a bit of confirmation bias, is I feel like the newer generation, they also have so much quantity in their bodies from an early age, and they have professional setups and professional weeks from a very young teenage age, and I feel like you run such a big risk of overloading the body at an early age. And Carlos Alcaraz has hit a lot of tennis balls at an extreme torque. And I think it's also just natural that there's some wear and tear. The balls are getting heavier than they ever were. The year round, you hit the same kind of tennis. The year round, you play the same tennis. You don't have the swings where it's just serve and return. It's a lot of movement. It's tough on your body.
I just wanted to, Freddie, add to what you're saying is something close to my heart. And obviously we mentioned Holger, and I think the one metric that's still going up on the men's game are ball speeds. Average ball speeds are still incrementally creeping up year on year. Now there's going to be a ceiling at some point. But Freddie used the word torque. You've got now some top players not even competing at the highest level. You've got Jack, you've got Carlos, you've got Holger, and you did have Arthur Feast. Now, I totally agree with what Freddie said. Like, I think that the training setups are so much more professional now, but the human body can only evolve to a certain level where you're pushing it, and you've got the rehab, and you've got the prehab, and you've got all of this stuff going on. But I think tennis is behind, and this is something close to my heart, where like you're not measuring enough the training loads and the hours and the repetitions and the amount of serves and the amount of forehands and backhands that you're hitting. And that needs to be more scientific, like it is in football and rugby and other sports, to stop this from happening. Because this is like, as a product, you're killing the product if these players are not taken to the court. So, now at the ATP, which are way more ahead than WTA, you've got the catapult vest that they can wear in training, so you can measure the amount of forehands and backhands and serves they're hitting, accelerations, de-accelerations. And let's say with Holger, that injury was from the decels, the de-accelerations over and over again. And look at the guys sliding. It used to be you slide on a clay court, and then you'd slide on a hard court. And then you watched the final of Wimbledon last year, and Sinner's took it to a totally different level. He's sliding open stance, not only on the backhand, which Novak has done now for the last 20 years, the famous one where he did the dive, where he did the passing shot against Sinner. And if you look at Carlos, when you go wide to Carlos's forehand, he always chips because he can't quite slide on the forehand on a grass court. Sinner was sliding fully on a forehand and on a backhand in that final. It's like it's impossible to beat the guy because it's like he's moving like he's on skis. Of course, we know why. But the point is, the human body can only take so much, and I think I worry also for Sinner. I think Sinner is also on the edge with his body.
He's not played many matches recently, though.
No, but it's not just about he's played a lot of matches, but he's also gone through them very faster. But I think, again, I can see something like, if Sinner were to get injured, where are we at in a sport from the point of view of the men's game in terms of like the superstars not taking to the racing track? It's like saying Verstappen, Hamilton, Charles Leclerc are not going to race for 6 months. No one would watch F1. It wouldn't be as big as it is, but actually they do take to the track every week.
No one watches F1 because they changed the bloody rules on the last race to suit the entertainment. That's gone for me.
You know who would be very happy if Sinner were to get injured, though? Sasha Zverev would be like doing a victory dance somewhere.
He would still choke. Don't worry. He would still choke. Don't you worry about
that. Yeah. So look, I mean, that's my 2 cents in terms of like, I think as a sport, and myself and the company I'm working with, we're talking with the ATP in terms of like looking at health management and the support that we can give to like look at this, because we've got to keep up with the Joneses and look at like in football, like the amount of hamstring injuries and ACLs that are happening, and okay, how do you then manage that? And football has then turned a corner with that, because they were more explosive than ever, right? And in tennis, I think we're still like, we've got all of this explosivity and amazing tennis that we watch, but actually what's it doing to the body?
Yeah, okay, if I could just say something as well as from a coaching point of view, it's also quite difficult to relay a message to a player if it's just subjective, because many times as a coach, you're just kind of guessing, or you get from the physio, he can kind of do this much or this much, or how many times you would like he play 45 minutes. Well, what does 45 minutes mean? It can be, so I think it will also be easier to relay the message to the players if you have some sort of hard facts, like you mentioned football, Mike, with the people going to the red zone and they say, okay, this and that. And I'm a big fan of baseball there. They keep count of pitches and this kind of stuff. And it's quite arbitrary in tennis. And we've spoken about this a few times, I think, on the podcast, how a practice session is just set by hours, basically, instead of, like you say, Mike, if we can get some more info into what the body is capable of and what it should be doing at a certain stage, I think it would make it easier for everybody.
On the whole, because I actually wanted to bring this topic up anyway tonight, before we go into our I'll call them guesses, because let's be honest, I could big us all up and say our professional opinions of what's going to happen, but let's be honest, none of us have a flipping clue. We're never, apart from picking Sinner Alcaraz in the final. Normally, we pretty much wrong every other time. So it's the ecosystem of tennis, and I wanted to mention a little bit about US college, actually, because we'll see a lot of US college players that are going to be at Grand Slams. Roughly now in the singles, you have between kind of 18 and 24 main draw singles players on the men's side, 6 to 8 on the women's side. Obviously in the doubles, you have almost half the draws that are full, certainly on the men's side, and maybe about a third on the women's side. But before college, it's even more of a cowboy show, right? Because you guys have touched on it, but the Alcaraz injury, the Holger Rune injury, the Arthur Fils, how much of this is happening at academy level, at club level, at cowboy coach level, that's just getting their players on court for hours and hours and hours, hitting hundreds and hundreds of balls? And then you go the world of agents that are putting this pressure on with these these perceived big tournaments at age 11 now, where we're watching the best players in the world and they're all being signed up by the biggest agencies, and it's then all over social media. And then, okay, well, Charlie in Greece is training like this, like a crazy person. Well, I need to now train like a crazy person as well. And we have a lot of people coming through our doors at sort of tennis academy, and you get the odd one. You get the odd one at a young age that can just take the volume. They've got that ability just to kind of, certainly at that age, to maybe stack it up. But the reality is everyone's different. But there is a bit of a rat race out there that's happening at a younger age. You know, a younger, more tennis, more tournaments, more forehands cross court, more baskets, more whatever it is. What do we do about that, Mike?
Well, I'm now the commissioner of tennis by the fact that you've asked me that question. So
you worked at a tennis academy, you know.
No, I know.
You've seen it, right? And let's be honest, you worked at a tennis academy that's kind of guilty of a lot of marketing, of getting that stuff out there, that people are, you know, the big guns, you know, let's not beat around the bush. The big guns of tennis academies are out there in that marketing dream, and it involves playing a hell of a lot of tennis, you know, and it's been showcased on social media with kids at a very young age doing all of these things, and then it then filters around the world. The amount of people that come to my academy and go, "What, you only play 3 hours of tennis a day?" What? I said, well, sometimes you won't play 3 hours, actually. It depends on the person. It depends on, you know, there is academies out there where these kids are playing 5, 6, 7 hours of tennis a day, repetition.
Sorry, Dan, you touched on it very well in terms of, you know, we're in the social media era, and this is something that all of us, you know, just didn't have when we were juniors growing up playing tennis. And this is a whole other topic I could get into, and I'm passionate about this in terms of the pro guys, but it's a copying, you know, looking over your fence and going, what's my neighbor doing? I'm just going to copy them. And again, from a parent's point of view, if you talk about this, it's like the parents are too hung up often in tennis academies about what little Johnny's doing next door, apart from what little John's doing, you know, on the court now. And it's like, well, they never affect each other's careers. You know, if you look at men's tennis, the only two people that are affecting each other's careers right now are Carlos and Yannick. Outside of that, it's like, you can't even put Novak in that because he's not playing enough. So nobody else, you know, if you're 50 in the world, nobody's affecting your tennis career apart from yourself. You know, you're not going to play anybody more than twice a year. You know, and most guys that you see doing really, really well, you're never going to play. So going back to your question, what do we do about that? I think as a sport, we need to upskill in many, many ways. The problem is, as a sport, it's an individual sport. You effectively, you know, I'm currently coaching Linda Fruhvirtova. I have been the whole season, and we're here still in Paris. And you know, you look at the Czech system. There's no Czech system. I know you had one of the federation guys on a while ago, but like, there is no system in Czech. It's like court, hitting partner, parents, coach, go. And like, let's compete and work harder than the other girl down the road. So it's quite Neanderthal, right? In terms of like, you know, there's no sports science behind that. So for me, I'm passionate about bringing sports science to the pro level a lot more. And then eventually it will filter down to, like you say, like little Johnny in the academy who's 12. But that's going to take a long time, unfortunately.
And college tennis, Candy, you're we're passionate SEC alumni. We obviously had the big story of Arkansas that just went out. They just got rid of the men's and women's team. I do have first-hand conversations with people that are alumni at Arkansas that work their socks off to actually fund $5 million. To be able to get the programs back up and running. Some would say the athletic director was a genius, saved himself $5 million, and got the alumni to do it for him. We seem to be in a, you know, it's a I don't think any of us can deny the importance of US college tennis in the whole ecosystem. It's the one bridge, right? It's the one bridge from junior tennis into pro tennis that is incredible. There's lots coming out. There's lots of people that are outspoken. Too many international students taking the scholarships from the Americans has been said. Understandable if it's said in the right way. Completely get it. If I take the UK system, the UK system smart, but they've basically got US college developing their best junior players and transitioning them into the game, right? And they've put someone in position, to be the connector between that, but the resource is coming from the US college system, and that's then helping develop all of these players. Where does this all go? We've then got the NIL, thousands, almost millions being spent on tennis players, but it's not sustainable. But the big issue, I guess, is all of those millions are also being spent now on the big sports, the American football, the basketball. Yeah. So do you pay $500,000 for a tight end who's gonna play for 2 or 3 seasons, is going to sell tickets, is going to sell shirts, or do you spend $500,000 on a tennis program? Tennis isn't going to win that very often. And I'm pretty worried about the state of college tennis. Well, of course they are. Tight end's going to win every time in a business model. So I personally am very concerned about where the US college system is going, what's going to happen. It feels it's going to burst. It feels more programs are going to be dropped. And I think there's going to be a massive effect on the whole ecosystem of tennis if that happens. Where do you stand on it, Candy?
Well, we know in Britain, don't we? The LTA have a really good relationship with a couple of universities, TCU and Wake Forest among them. And you're right. It's almost like we don't need to develop these kids. Let's send them off there, and 4 years later they'll be developed if they're going to be like a Jacob Fernley or someone like that. It's horrible to hear that about Arkansas, and it does make you worry. I think this NIL thing is really dodgy. I had a long chat with my doubles partner at the University of Tennessee, who's now the head coach there of the women's program. And I was asking her about the NIL because I didn't really understand it. So it's name, image, likeness. And apparently, according to the actual rules, colleges shouldn't be promising any money before they actually sign the player. It's completely illegal, but it's been happening everywhere all the time. And only the colleges who don't actually have big football, baseball, basketball programs would have the money to give the players NIL money. So a lot of the big programs like University of Tennessee, LSU, et cetera, they don't really have the money to offer their tennis players because that money would actually go to the sexy sports. Yeah.
Well, yeah. Well, or you're a very good fundraiser,
right?
And you raise funds, which people are doing, but there's going to be donor fatigue on that, right? Because if there's not true value,
especially for international students, I think that is a problem. I mean, my university coach when I was there, Mike Patrick, only allowed 2 international scholarships. So it was myself and an Indian girl, Manisha Malhotra, who's our number 1 player, and everyone else had to be from the United States. But you can see why the coaches are trying to do it, because if they can get a few people top from Bosnia, etc., they're probably going to come in straight away, be a bit more mature than an average American student, and get right to winning and go right to the top of the 6-player lineup. So you can understand it, but maybe there needs to be some limits in place and a little bit more understanding perhaps about how this NIL thing is working in order for other programs like Arkansas not to be shut down. But it's a major concern because it's such a great opportunity. It totally changed my life. I'm sure it did for you, Dan, but it was absolutely mind-blowing what an opportunity it was for me. So I hope for everyone that they get that opportunity if they deserve it.
And Freddie, I don't know how much you know about it, in how many Danish kids are going, but my reading of the situation, I guess there's 2 issues here, right? There's the issue that the teams are falling, because now the rules have changed. So whereas you used to have to give 4.5 scholarships on men's and 8 to women's, you now can give up to 10 on both sides or nothing. So there used to be this option to give that, but now because they are now competing in this, if you think, let's take LSU where I went, 100,000 stadium, $100 a ticket, do the maths, how much money's coming in every game, right? Then you go to the merchandise stores, then you go to the TV deals, then you go to all of this, but they're not paying the players. They're just they're giving scholarships. So that money then filtered into the other sports. Whereas now, these big universities, they've got massive, basically, wage bills for a lack of another word. It's become professional, because they've got to now pay these top athletes millions, the best ones millions. So all of a sudden there's like 50, 60, 70, 100 million of that budget going to basically pay professional players to play in college. The fallout of that is that money's now not going to filter down into the other sports. So if you're running that business, you're going, well, hold on, men's tennis, women's tennis, they're not bringing in any money. Why do we need that? Boom, gone. And we're starting to see more and more stories. So that's the first issue. The second issue, Patrick McEnroe's talked about it. There's been, I think a lot of people have been quite vocal on this, is that the international students are taking the spaces of the Americans. Now, I guess to shine a light on that, Freddie, and bring that to you, my understanding of that, it's not so much the 17, 18-year-old kid from Copenhagen that's going in, and he's kind of competing, or she's competing up against the 17, 18-year-old from Michigan. It's the 23-year-old from Bosnia who is finding their way into college because they haven't got a handle on the academic side, who's already 400 in the world ATP, but is finding their way into the system, whereas you can't do that with the American players. So American players, you have to be legit, right? You have to be an 18-year-old going into college, and they're actually competing against the 22, 23-year-old now, which seems to be almost the bigger issue.
Yes, I also heard this from Patrick McEnroe. I'm a bit ignorant to the stats. Is it a fact? Is it backed by numbers, or is it a subjective opinion?
It is. It is, and I'm about to say something I'm not 100% factual on, so please kill me when you in any social media come at me, guys. I'm holding my hands up. But I think Wake Forest won the men's event last year, and I believe, and I am fully making this up, but I've heard it. It's the average age of their team was about 24. Whether it was 23.7, 24.3, whatever it might be, they had a 26-year-old in their team as well. You know, so that's changing the landscape massively. It's kind of players are now using it. Okay, I play futures for a few years. I get to 300-400 in the world. I'm not quite making money. Wow, I can go to college and get paid $100,000 for a semester, or I can get paid these are the sort of money figures that we're talking about. It's a no-brainer, right? If you can find your way in through the clearinghouse. Whereas it's just, if you've gone in the American high school system in America, or you are an American, the rules are very clued up to that not being able to happen.
Yes, and I get that. I was just wondering if there actually are more Europeans taking American spots, because I feel like there's always been a lot of foreigners in college. And it's always been
the fact. Sweet 16, there was, I believe, 12 to 16 Americans out of 16 teams in the men's side.
Okay.
So you've got 16 times 7 players, 100 odd players, and I believe there was 12 to 16 of them were Americans. The rest were international, not necessarily Europeans, but international. So yes, that's facts.
And it is. I mean, the whole college experience is changing, and it seems like it's turning into the Wild West a little bit, like you're saying. And I just feel like the uniqueness that college had is dying, and I'm worried that the interest is going to lose, because you see players become mercenaries now as well. They get offers there and there. The one thing that I always feel like college had is that it was very much in the schools and the coaches' power. This is our way. And you follow in, but now the players can kind of dictate, because they can play the schools out against each other, and they move around a lot, and there's money at stake, and it just becomes a whole totally different landscape. And I think it's a shame for the actual college experience. And I know that the guys I have in Denmark who are on the Davis Cup team, they had the times of their lives doing college, and they had consistency in the coaching, and they had just the greatest years of their lives. And I feel sorry for the guys who are missing out, because it just, as with everything, we touched on it with the young kids and with the college, everything is such a rat race now, and everybody's in a hurry, and I think it takes away from the product. And yeah, maybe it will lose the interest of the schools to put money in it, or maybe he'll do the opposite. You have seen, you talk about schools losing money for tennis, but you also see the opposite right now, that people are pouring more money into some of the tennis, and some of the figures I hear being thrown around for players are insane for college. So it could also go the opposite way because they have this opportunity. Who knows? What it seems like to me anyway is that it's certainly changing, and that's a shame. But I don't necessarily think it will become less competitive. It would just be different. It will still be a good setup. We'll still recommend our players to go to college, and maybe even the colleges will have to up their game to keep their players. So it's certainly going to be different. I, for one, personally think it's a bit of a shame because it had, the school spirit and the feel of belonging. It's something that was unique to college compared to the other tennis routes to the top, and now it becomes kind of like everything else.
Good. The last thing I'll say on it, as you can probably tell, I've got a bit of passion for this subject. We need to move into the French Open. It is loyalty, right? Loyalty. I'm a big one for loyalty. Freddie's been on every single. He's absolutely useless. He lies in bed like that. He doesn't add any value. But I'm loyal to Freddie. I bring him in on every single panel. No, but
you're so generous.
And I'm so generous for the favor you are doing me. Thank you so much.
We're all great. We're all so thankful, Dan.
Every time I'm actually, after the podcast, I slide down here with my head on my pillow and I think to myself, what would I do without Dan?
Without
your loyalty, exactly.
His wife is a lucky woman. That's all I can say.
You're very welcome, guys. And by the way, thank you. But yeah, in terms of that, and it's exactly what you're saying, Freddie. That experience for me, like, look, LSU is in my heart. As a 46-year-old, I graduated 24 years ago. I see some of LSU hat on or top on, I immediately go and speak to them immediately, and I get excited, and it's like it's there. It's completely built. It's completely built in me. I'm checking results online. It's part of me, and I feel like my experience in this world is so much better for that, right? Whereas you now have players that are literally going 1 year here, 1 year there, 1 year there, depending on who's going to pay them the most. And that's the way the conversation's going. And I know someone out there is going, well, that's the real world. That's the real world. Where are we going to get to? Do you know what I mean? We're going to have bloody robots doing all these things. We're going to have, people jumping left, right, and blinking center.
Let's calm down about the robots. We're going off.
Let's keep some tradition, loyalty, love, bond, connection in this world.
But I think with what you're saying is that it's a new cycle of progression of college tennis. That's what's happening. It's concerning, right, in terms of what happened with Arkansas. I was following that a little bit on social media. I mean, 15 people from the LTA here this week in qualifying for the men's. I think they have a record amount of men's players in qualifying here at the French Open.
I thought you were saying coaches.
Yeah, no. There's a lot of coaches and LTA staff and everything. They have the full, works this week. Everybody's come in from NTC by the looks of it, because there's maybe, 10 or 11 guys in qualifying, or there were. And let's check how many have come from college. I think almost all of them are coming out of the college system. So, obviously the LTA are picking up the tab on terms of supporting them now. But if it wasn't for college tennis, would those guys be even inside 230 in the world competing at a Grand Slam on clay? I'm not sure.
And by the way, smart move by the LTA as well. Fair play. The rules allow it. Yeah. Fair play. Put really good people involved. Built the relationships. Fair play to them, And I think I'm surprised more people aren't doing that. To move into the women's side, because we've got French Open, by the way, Candy. This is a French Open preview now, but it all links in, right? It does. It's all important now. I want to start with dark horses. Now, Mike might need to understand what a dark horse is. You can kind of have someone that just maybe we've not heard of. We might have.
So say your own player.
Someone who's going to have a little bit of a run. Yeah. We heard of her. We got told she was going to be like world number one when she was 15. Mike's got a big job on his hand to manage his expectation.
I didn't know Linda was 15.
But in terms of that, maybe someone who is a little bit more known that's going to go a little bit further, and then we'll move into which I don't think is so easy actually. Who's going to be our women's champion as well? We're going to start with Candy. Candy's gonna, and we can discuss around it. Who've you got? Drop us a name or two.
Well, I've got to put in Marta Kostyuk. Just won 2 titles back to back, 250 Rouen.
Hold on. Is dark horse or is this a winner?
Well, I'm going for a dark horse.
No, she's in the top 5 potential winners.
But you never would have thought of Marta Kostyuk at the beginning of the year to be a dark horse. Her
best result is a fourth round in 2021.
Exactly.
When she was 17.
But I'm just making everyone aware who's listening that Marta Kostyuk is a serious candidate for the French Open. She has to be. She's won back-to-back.
Hasn't lost the match on clay.
And then at 1,000 level on clay.
But we need the rules on the dark horse, right?
That is true.
We've given up on that long time ago.
We didn't get sent or anything, so
could she win it, Mike Kostyuk?
Well, look, I mean, for people that don't know, I cover her performance analysis, and I work with her coach Sandra Zaniuska, and I have done now for 3 seasons. And she was trending. A lot of her metrics are trending into the top 10 type zone beginning of the year, and I do believe now she's had a real she's turned a corner mentally as well, and I think a lot of stars are aligning for her to have a really, really good run here. And, she's basically only lost to Rybakina and Sabalenka this year. So, I back her right now against anybody, including Rybakina on clay. And last year against Sabalenka, she lost to her twice, 7-6, 7-6, 7-6, 7-6. And she had 3 out of those 4 sets, she had set points in 3 of them. So, and she's also a big match player, a big court player. I spoke to her last night, and her first practice here was they got given Philippe Chatrier, and I think she's growing massively mentally. But I wouldn't. It's tough to say she's a dark horse because she just won a Masters 1000, but you can argue it, like Candy said, because her best run has only been 1 4th round. She lost first round here last year. So anyway, I step out of this conversation now while Candy continues.
Can I just say quickly on this, on Kostyuk, because I think this is important. and I was sent this last night, and I won't say who sent it, but it's a tennis player, and it was a social media quote. And the quote is, "My unfair advantage is I'm not desperate for the outcome."
Okay.
Amazing. I heard Marta Kostyuk speak last night. She was talking for me like someone that is starting to get into this mindset.
100%.
I agree 100%. Yeah.
And for me, anyone that's listened to this podcast, I think I've mentioned Marta Kostyuk on pretty much every single preview.
You mention every player on every single preview.
Fair. There was also a massive doubt over her mentality, right? That's where it was falling down.
It's changed.
The athletic ability of the tennis. But the fact that she was saying, I'm comfortable losing first round here, but I'm going to have a great time doing it. I love playing on this court. You can just see that the mindset is shifting a little bit.
Yeah.
And because of that, I can see her she's not going to win it, in my opinion, but she's going to get past the 4th round. She'll go the deepest that she's been in the Roland Garros, in my opinion.
Mike wants to talk, but I'd love to put another dark horse in there. Sorana Castella is having the year of her life, and it is her final year on the WTA Tour.
You can't argue that, Dan.
My number 1 dark horse. They're always stealing mine.
He has notes.
I was not privy to that information. I can't even see what you've got written on there, but I'm sure it says Sorana Castella. Daughter
25 and 7 on the year.
Yeah. Ice cream factory. It's all about the ice cream factory. She's stopped eating it, apparently.
10 and 2 on clay this year.
She's good. She's feisty. She's playing great tennis. She's leaving it all out on the court. It's a little bit like Danielle Collins. Up until then, she returned to tennis. But I think Costea will keep her promise not to play anymore after this year.
Do you? That's my question. If she finishes top 10, don't know what she's ranked right now. She's got to be doing pretty well in the rankings, I would imagine, the way she's going. She's seeded 26, maybe. So she's 25, 26 in the world right now, but is winning a lot. Well, if she gets to top 10 in the world, does she continue in 2027?
No. She's 36 years of age. I think she'll hang up her rackets. I think she's a very intelligent woman.
So your dark horses have basically lost 2 matches on clay between them in the whole clay court season. Thank you, Candy. Freddie, any dark horses? I mean, Freddie's a dark horse. We can't bloody see Freddie.
Hello. But it's part of my shtick that I have technology problems.
Freddie's in bed. He's turned the lights off.
Exactly. No, I find this one to be so difficult. The one I came up with now, she's also climbed the ranking, is Eva Jovic.
Just lost to Emma Navarro in Strasbourg, I think.
So she's going to be fresh for Paris. No, she's only going one way. She's young. She's up and coming. She's not afraid of the match. And also just because I think it's quite funny. What my second trip ever when I started my job at the Federation, one of my players played her and she was big as a stick and the racket was almost bigger than her. And it's quite fun to see those kind of. I know you've been through the same, Dan. Seeing young players develop into great players. I think that's quite fun.
She's got a great coach in Tom Gutteridge, fellow Brit.
There you go.
Can I give a true dark horse?
Of course.
Solana Sierra.
Okay.
21-year-old from Argentina.
What's the current ranking?
64 in the world.
Okay.
She made the Roland Garros girls final in 2022. Yeah, I'm just tracking some results. I think she actually made 4th round of Wimbledon last year.
Yeah, I was going to say had a big Wimbledon.
That's a great one. That's a great one, and that is a proper dark horse. There's no argument there whatsoever.
You made it, Dan.
So,
you proved the world that with consistency and persistence, you can finally get there.
If she wins one match, I win, because none of yours are bloody dark horses.
Considering Costea is 18 in the world, Jovic is 17 in the world, and Marta is 15 in the world. I think you definitely come out with a blinder there.
Come on, Mike. Give us a data one. Give us somebody who's lower, who's maybe trending on some numbers.
Hailey Baptiste.
Nice.
It's a good one.
Hailey Baptiste is somebody that's game is super exciting to watch, and anybody that hasn't watched her, I would go and look at it. She can slice, she can volley, she can hit and charge, she can, she's super creative. She obviously beat Arena in Madrid and lost in the semis to Andreeva. Disappointing in Rome, but she lost to the winner, so you can't argue about that. But obviously it was 1 and 2. It was quite a... But again, naturally that, she goes and makes her first semis of a Masters, and then there's that expectation, etc. So I actually think she's in a good position here going into Roland Garros. It's going to be hot. This main draw now, for qualies, it's been horrible weather. Now on Friday, last round of qualies is going to be 29-30, and it's going to and it's going to continue like that for the whole of next week until my phone ends on the application. It's 30-31 every single day. It's going to be crazy.
I like that for my teams.
I'll need a hat. So, I think Baptiste is somebody from a numbers point of view that's trending in terms of what she's doing. But look, like you say, it's all between the ears, and I've got a root from a main draw point of view for Marta. I think what she's been doing this season has been incredible. Basically, like I say, she's only lost to Rybakina and Sabalenka, and I really hope she has a good run. And I agree with you, I think there's a good chance she gets her best ever run at a Grand Slam, which was 1 quarter final in Australia. But the women's game is so open, right? You could say Coco or Sabalenka is going to be in the final, but I don't think Sabalenka or Coco will win, or Swiatek will win this. I think there'll be a new Grand Slam champion in this one.
You think Alina Svitolina?
Yeah, I think again. I mean, look, you've had two Ukrainian winners in Rome and Madrid. Both slightly different game styles, but both incredibly tough when they're on it. There's just so much depth. I think there's more depth in the WTA than in the men's game right now. This is controversial, but I think there's
no, it's
way
not
more...
controversial. We got Sinner, Alcaraz, and nobody in the men's.
Yeah,
let's be honest.
but, I mean, you still have big names right in the men's game.
Men's is boring right now. No, it's boring. Look, Yannick Sinner, fair play. Yawn, yawn, yawn. It's boring.
You should get Zverev on the podcast because don't forget his interview where he put himself, him and Carlos, in between of everybody else, which was...
I heard.
Talk about self-belief and, you need to have that, right? It's about changing your own reality. And I think his reality would be fascinating to be in his head one day to see what his reality looks like.
Great player, but yeah, I think on the women. So let's jump in then. So before we do move into the men's, Freddie, you want to crack us off with on the women's side?
That's why he's got the lights off.
Yeah, I think Rybakina is going to win it.
No, this is WB over 18. This podcast. Thanks, Freddie.
Just let me know when you're ready.
As the words were coming out, I was like, this one is not getting past Candy. No way. So you're Rybakina, are you?
Yes, I am. She's been trending upwards. Good results. Mike said, the conditions are going to be fast here. I think she'll take it.
That's a stretch on clay courts, Freddie.
Sure.
Okay.
But I mean, I can see it. There's not much in it. I mean, would you be surprised if she did it?
Yes, I actually would, I think, in Roland Garros. Not on the other three.
I think she's the best player in the world right now.
Yeah?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think she can overpower anybody on any court. Maybe she's less likely to do it here. I think when she's on, she's very difficult to stop, and the conditions are going to play in her favor, I think, with the weather. So, yeah, that's my pick.
Candy.
I'm going to go... I would like to see... I hope we will see Jessica Pegula win a slam. She's not going to win Roland Garros. I'm going to go for Svitolina over Coco. I think that's what I'm going to go for. A repeat of the Rome final.
And me, I can't emotionally get past Marta in terms of like her level and what she's been doing this year. And I do feel like this is her time to actually win a Grand Slam. And of course, there's, you've got Sabalenka, Rybakina, Iga, Coco that have all got slams. And I understand what Freddie said about Rybakina, but I actually think, that you can get to her more from the movement point of view on clay. I think if we were talking now about a hard court Grand Slam coming into this and what she's been doing, I would probably lean towards her. Rena seems to be like she's injury at the moment. There's an injury, she's carrying something. But on a clay court, I don't think Rybakina is going to have enough, and I think she'll have one round where the level won't be there in terms of the movement, or someone's going to be able to get at the movement, and then it's going to be tough for her. So I'm going to say Marta. Why not?
Can I just bring up at this point, what has happened to Paolini?
Too many coaching changes. That is my opinion.
What changes has she had coaching wise?
Well, she was with Renzo Furlan for ages.
That was going great, yeah.
That was going great. Why would you split?
A year ago or something.
Yeah, Danilo Pizzorno left Samsonova to go with her. It didn't seem to work out. Then she was working with Mark Lopez, wasn't she, for a bit? Obviously, Sara Errani's listed as coach often. But I think that's the problem. Just, Mike and I, we had this discussion about the WTA on average having coaching-player relationships lasting about 5 months. And that's what's happened to Paolini recently. It's just been too much chipping and charging. She needs to have some reliability, something solid back in the background, which she hasn't had.
Is that not the byproduct of what's happening to her, though? I often think that the coach roundabout is often the byproduct of where the person is at. Like it feels to me like Paolini. Like Paolini was. I mean, we see a lot of Paolini and again with Gabby and Aaron, played them a lot in big matches, and like almost to the point where they've beaten them, and I felt guilty that they've beaten them because she's so lovely and so bubbly, and you know, we've got a lovely relationship with her and Sarah, but she hasn't been the same bubbly character now for 6 months or so, and I just wonder again, it's that word burnout again. But she plays singles every week. She plays doubles every week. She has done now for 2 or 3 years. You know, it's a lot, right? It's a lot.
It's also easier to be happy and bubbly when everything is going one way, right?
Of course, but that was her character. I think her character is that. That's kind of her fundamental character. She's quite a lively, bubbly person, but she hasn't seemed herself for me for 6 months now. Which I hope she's okay. Hope she comes back where she has been for the last couple of years.
But let's be honest, Dan. In the women's game, you've got 2 different trends. You've got the big hitters, Sabalenka, Rybakina, Iga, and then you've got like the amazing movers, Coco, Marta, and Paolini. Sort of, you cannot say she's overachieved, but like she's done what she's done. But to continue to the level that she was at was always going to be unlikely.
It's hard, where she come from as well.
Yeah. Look at the physicality. You cannot, find me into the sport where you're going to have Paolini and Rybakina sharing the same pitch, competing against each other in any women's sport. It's not possible, right? Football or boxing or anything. But in tennis, they're going to fight each other metaphorically with a racket, and I think it's just difficult week in, week out. And I think you're absolutely right. Then she's playing doubles, she's going deep in the doubles event, and it's just not sustainable. This is people don't understand out there. This is a brutal environment. You're changing. I have an app on my phone called Flighty, and in the last 4 years, I've been around the world 9 times in a plane. Now, I'm not a player, so I mean, what are the players doing every single year? They're going around the world, a couple of times a year. They're changing time zones. Yeah. Everything is always up and down and variable. And I think what she did was incredible. I think she got found out a little bit in terms of the girls know how to play her more now.
Yeah.
And now is the sort of the messy middle stage of her career in terms of, is she ever going to get back to that? Probably not. But she's going to be a solid player for the rest of her career, I'm sure.
I have to disagree with you. Peter Crouch could play against Lisandro Martinez from Man
United. Yeah, but they're different positions on the football pitch.
Okay. Harry Maguire and Lisandro Martinez.
Yeah, okay. But
boxing, I'm with you. Football, we have.
But those 2 players you're talking about don't affect their outcomes over and over again, week in, week out. This is imagine competing against someone like.
What an insult, by the way, that is for Paolini, that I've just called her Lisandro Martinez, that horrible Argentinian defender. Oh, sorry, Jasmine, if you're listening. Sorry.
Well, just quickly, Dan, one more thought. She does really seem to love her doubles, doesn't she, Paolini? So I hope she doesn't give that up. And, she's got plenty of money now, so maybe it doesn't awfully bother her that her singles ranking has slid if she's still doing really well in the doubles.
What's the definition of plenty of money? That's the... Maybe for her it's not. You don't know.
That's a good point.
She's not happy. I'm a bit worried about it. She's not happy. I really don't. I think there's something maybe a bit deeper that she's... I see a little bit of burnout. Is what I see. In terms of my pick, I'm not picking her, but as Freddie says, I like to mention everyone just in case I can then clip it out and say that I did mention that person if that person does do well. I think she does deserve a mention because I think we've mentioned everybody, but we haven't mentioned Andreeva, and I think Andreeva has shown in the last few weeks that there's signs there. I still think the forehand isn't good enough. I still think the forehand will catch her out against in the biggest of matches. I'm torn, Freddie. I'm torn between Iga and Sabalenka.
Out of those 2, I would pick Arena.
I think Roch is going to be good for Iga. I think there's certain connections, and why I think it is, I think she's so obsessed with Rafael Nadal that I think there's there's a bit of inspiration that potentially comes through that.
Do you think Rafa could turn up in her box at the tournament or not?
Yes,
very possibly.
I do, and I think there's something there. There's a bit of it feels like Iga's needed a bit of inspiration for a while, and it feels like it had got a bit stale, and I think there's a bit of an upside and upturn that's going to happen with Iga. However, I'm going to go with Sabalenka because I actually think it's maybe a blessing, the early finishes, the early losses in Madrid and Rome. I do think she has literally dominated women's tennis for the last few months. And again, sorry to be on the burnout train, guys, but I do think that when you do that much, I think you do need a little bit of time to reset. She got engaged. She got a new dog. She was on every TV station that you could ever imagine. She was on every magazine that you could ever imagine. You know, she just was became a superstar. And I think maybe this last 3 or 4 weeks might have been a bit of a reset for her. Hearing that the weather's going to be hot, I think helps her a little bit as well. Aryna Sabalenka is my pick.
Good pick. Pick the world.
There we go. There's your headline.
Freddie, I know, Freddie. You've only got a couple of minutes before you go with preparation for August last round. Who does he play tomorrow?
Diaz Acosta.
What's the game?
Argentinian lefty.
He sounds good on clay. I don't actually know, but I mean, jeez.
Yeah, but how about this? This is going to be the third right-handed player who plays one-handed backhand he's going to play in a row. That doesn't happen much these days, huh?
Wow, no, it doesn't. Although, what about this? I'm at home for a couple of days before I travel to Paris, and I'm helping out a player, Billie Jean King, Canadian team player. She's playing in Estepona in a 35k event ITF. She's like 450, really good player. She played in the first round in the women's 35k, a single-handed backhand player today, and we then watched who she plays tomorrow, and it's another single-handed backhand. Women's tennis, ITF Pro Circuit 35k, 2 in a row. So maybe the single-handers are coming back, Fred.
Especially on the clay
Maybe
courts.
that would be great.
So good luck to August tomorrow. But come on, give us your before you head off. And by the way, August Holmgren, he was on the podcast last summer. Definitely a good one to listen to. Definitely coached by Freddie Nielsen because he's very philosophical in how he thinks. Just like War Freddie is. Now, come on, give us a couple of dark horses on the men's side and your pick, and then we'll let you slope off into the darkness.
Again, very difficult. So I'm going to try and really pick a dark horse. I'm going to go for Ignacio Buse, or how you pronounce his name.
For him.
No, look.
I'm going for him.
Hey.
I'm going for him. He's good. He's really good.
I'm going for him.
He
can seriously play, and he's in shape. He's having a good Hamburg as well, and he's got really high ceiling, I think.
He's just beaten Kaboli, the defending champion in Hamburg, and he lost 3 games today to Jakub Menšik. 6-love was the first set. It lasted less than half an hour. The guy is very good.
Well, just to give you a bit more, just in case you don't believe he's on my bit of paper, he's 22 years old. He was born in Lima, Peru. 25th of March, Aries like myself, 2 days before me. His career high ranking of world 57 achieved today, 18th of May, so that was a couple of days ago. Mentored by 2002 Roland Garros champion Albert Costa. And his nephew, he's the nephew of a world-renowned chef called Gaston Acurio. Anyone heard of him?
There you go. I mean, what can go wrong?
This is not last fact on him. The Davis Cup Stadium in Lima is named after the Buse brothers, his grandfather and great uncle.
It's true.
He's like you, Freddie.
That's tennis heritage.
I thought I was going to get you guys with him.
No. But so that's my pick. And to jump to the winner, I think I'm going to argue that there's not been a bigger favorite in the men's game, maybe ever. I think he might even be a bigger favorite than Rafa was in his prime. Almost. I'm just throwing it out there for.
Is he going to fall down physically or mentally?
No.
That's the one. There's the one. He's not got an opponent he needs to worry about. But if it's hot, he's not good in the heat. Festive 5 sets. He's put in so much tennis over the last few weeks.
But he always seems to get through.
Yeah,
but he always seems to get through it anyway, doesn't he? He never really loses, and one can only assume that but one can only assume that he's going to get better and better at dealing with it. So my answer would be no. I think he is the overwhelming favorite, and that something completely unforeseen will have to happen for him to not win this year's tournament.
Yeah.
Okay. Who's the dark horse winner? It can be anyone outside of Sinner.
If it's a dark horse winner, I'm gonna pick the home favorite Arthur Fils.
Oh, that would be nice.
I think he has unbelievable potential. He is very emotional that he plays, but maybe just the French crowd might be able to pull him through a little bit more. But he can seriously ball.
He's really good. Mike, you're shaking your head. What's wrong with
I don't want to go too deep on players that I'm around a lot and stuff like this, and I see, but no, it won't be Arthur Fils. I think Hodar.
That's quite deep. That was quite deep.
So I think Hodar is my dark horse, who actually genuinely believe, and in Oracle Tennis we actually work with two of the Spanish guys who are flying at the moment, and one is Hodar and one is Landaluce.
Yeah.
And if I was to go down the route of the booster sort of ranking, I'd say Landaluce will have a deep run here, and he will sort of announce himself to the level. But I think Rafa Hodar, I mean, this kid is incredible. We had him trending in our metrics at a top 10 level back in February before it kicked off with his level.
Wow.
Okay, so we were monitoring him, looking at many things, and we were predicting he would be top 10 by the end of the year in February. Now, the last sort of players that were doing that were Holger and Carlos at that age. So
what's he good at? What's he so good at?
Well, he's got a cannon of a serve, and his ground strokes off both wings, he's hitting the same ball speeds and spin rates like Yannick. And he has touch, he can move, and mentally he's a bit of a warrior, i.e. Spanish gladiator. And it's the only question mark, which I'm not giving any intel out here in saying this, is physically, what's he going to be like over 5 sets on clay? If physically he's good over 5 sets, I'm telling you, this guy's, if he's the opposite side of Yannick, I can see this guy in the final.
And shout out to the University of Virginia, because as of December 2025, he was still at the University of Virginia. It's incredible.
Do you know what their recruiting class was that year? Do you know this, Freddie?
Yes, I do, because one of my best friends is a coach there.
Oh, really? So come on, you can tell us.
Oh, well, I definitely know that it was him, Fonseca.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, so they do well in picking there. They almost do too well.
How's that for a recruiting class? Hodar and Fonseca, freshmen.
Yes.
I mean, geez.
But I think that's a great choice. The reason why I picked Buse over Hodar is that I think he's more of a dark horse.
Yeah, well,
I think Hodar has. I mean, he's undeniably good.
And how nice are the guys? I mean, Hodar is an absolute gentleman, and Martin Landaluce, I've met his entire family, and they are just diamonds. These guys are so nice, so respectful, so grown up, just quality human beings.
You might be amazed to know, but he was my second one.
Landaluce.
I'm not just jumping on your... No, Hodar.
Oh, Hodar.
So it was also on the list. Coached entirely by his father, a PE teacher who taught himself tennis. Do you know that?
But the father also worked in Real Madrid basketball team, and I think even maybe Real Madrid's football team, but definitely the basketball team. So he's been around high-level sport.
Is this Rafael you're talking about?
Yeah, and... Yeah, right now it's every man and his dog is trying to speak with the father to be in the team and this sort of stuff, and it's quite interesting. At some point, he will need to build a team around him, and it will be interesting to see how that develops.
Do we? I'm going to throw one more out there. See what you guys think of this guy, Prismic.
Yes, also a good shout.
A lot of next-gen players.
Another 20-year-old.
We played them in Davis Cup. We played them in Davis Cup earlier this year, and he was nails. Really, really competitive, great player, I have to say.
He's a beast, huh?
He is a beast.
Yeah, and it's not even that he played that well when we played him. He was just so tough to beat, and he was, yeah. I was very impressed by his attitude on the court and the way he raised himself, his level when he needed to.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's going to be interesting how the draw falls with some of those guys, right? Any other dark horses?
Yeah, Mariano Navoni. I'm going with him since you took Buse. I'm going to go with him. Winner of Bucharest. Very good clay court player.
Beat Cameron Norrie this week already.
Right.
Is that right? Yeah, I feel like he's beaten Cam Norrie a couple of times maybe for this clay court season. I'm making that up.
I think that's true. I'll check.
Okay, that's another good name to look out for sure.
And I've got one more, which is a third one. I don't know whether we're allowed 3. Is that the part of the rules? Alexander Block's another young one, and the young ones are starting to come now, aren't they, into the rankings?
We're naming everyone who was at Next Gen last year. We just haven't mentioned Lerner Tien who won it.
Yeah, I mean, you could argue Lerner. I think on clay at the moment maybe a little bit off, but you could, I mean, if anyone said Lerner Tien, which is obviously top 20 now, but I mean, yeah, Blocks has again a cannon of a serve and super aggressive player, great athlete. He has some issues off the court now, which you can go and Google. Maybe they affect.
What is that? What's happened with the coaches?
Not going to say that on a podcast. So.
Oh, really? But it's out there.
I don't know. I didn't Google it, but I know what happened. So,
all right.
If anyone wants to give me tips, after the podcast, do we do like a donation?
I just know that in Madrid, his coach of a long time wasn't there. Ruben Bellamans was there, taken over, but nobody was allowed to speak about it.
Mm-mm.
And you're now.
Yes, I think it's a long time coaching relationship, they're great stories in tennis when you're taking someone from effectively mini red, tots to tour. It's every coach's dream when you start out in coaching and you think you're going to have a Wimbledon champion and your mini red kid I'm going to take this kid all the way. And some people do it, right? And it's absolutely amazing. Lars did it with Holger. Stan had his first coach do it close when he got to top 50, I think. And it's a shame that one didn't go the way it should have gone. But if that's not affecting him, I think he's a great dark horse if we can put that in there.
His coach, by the way, Philip Cassier, I think that's the one you're talking about, has this amazing gravelly voice. He's like, it's incredible. He looks a little like Fernando Vicente and sounds like the Godfather.
Ex-coach, but yeah.
I'll tell you, I know what I'm Googling after this, Flip. And do you know what my Google is? Do you know what my Google is? WhatsApp, Mike James. I might even just write the question now. I'm intrigued. I hope it's not as bad as it could be, but okay, let's move. A winner. Winner. Yannick Sinner. Yeah. It's hard to go against.
I'm going to be controversial because why not? It's my first time debuting on here, and if I'm going to be remembered, it's not going to be for picking Sinner.
Go big or go home.
I don't think physically. I think physically he'll have problems, and he's shown signs of cramp in Shanghai last year. In Indian Wells this year, he managed to get through in straight sets where he was on the
cramp in Australia.
Yeah, so I do believe that is something that they did solve, and then they're now not solving again. Like it went through a bit of a, like for example, like this time last year, like they solved it, right? He played the longest final, ever. But I think now it's come out the way again. Like it's changed a little bit. And...
It wasn't the massage cream, was it, that solved it?
No. This is no. Don't get me in trouble here, mate. Come on. And but honestly, again, I think you could have a new Grand Slam winner, and I do believe it's going to be something a little bit crazy, like a Hodar or something that I don't see Novak again. I don't see. I mean, but again, the guy changes his own reality, right? How many times have we wrote him off and he finds a way somehow? I don't think anyone thought he would beat Yannick over 5 sets. Not just beat him, but actually beat him over 5.
Who's second? Let's reframe this question. Freddie's given us Fils. Who's the second favourite?
It's got to be Zverev or Ruud.
I hate saying this, but I was going to say Casper as well.
Casper,
I'd pick
like
Zverev over Casper. I think he's got more depth in him, to be honest.
I'm going for Zverev. Zverev's going to win Roland Garros. You heard it here.
Wow.
That is a gamble.
Guys, I got to call it now.
No, Freddie. Don't
Good
go.
to see all of you. Good luck with everything you're doing. See you around.
Happy
So now you turn the lights on and you're getting out of bed.
Exactly. Take it easy.
Good luck. Get it done.
Thank you. Bye.
Yeah.
Merci.
I actually think Casper Ruud is. When I looked at it, I was just looking through the names there, and I was like, "Oh my god, it is." Freddie's right. It's the most single dominant tournament probably in a long time. I think Sinner has to be overwhelming favourite. But if something does happen to Sinner, now what we got to remember, Mike, in order to cramp, people have got to keep him on the court as well. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's not a lot of getting, keeping him on the court for long enough. But yeah, I think Zverev and Ruud are probably the next two, aren't they?
If, just say, Sinner does lose early, everyone else in the draw is going to get so tight, aren't they? All the top guys, the big names, are going to get so tight. Mike, carry on.
It would be amazing to see. And I think what Yannick's created is this Roger. I remember when Roger was going through this period in 2004 to 2006, where the guys had just given up before they go on the court, and they weren't keeping him out there very long, like Dan said. So Jan has created this scenario, quite rightly so. So that's why. But I do believe these young ones, Yabusa Blocks, Hodar will have a go, and also Arthur Fils, and I do think there's a section of guys that will just cave in and go, I'm not good enough, I've not got this guy's level. And there are more younger guys now that will have a go, but whether they can actually maintain it over 5 is the biggest question.
What about Medvedev? What a season he's having.
Yeah, really good.
I think he was kind of falling off a cliff a bit, wasn't he? But he's spoiled boy.
0-0 to Berrettini in Monte Carlo. 0-0. Imagine this, Emma. I mean, the guy, talk about resilience and just brushing off your shoulder and getting on with it. I mean, and for a guy that hated clay for so many years, I mean, you can YouTube all of his comments about clay and fighting with the umpires and moaning about the surface. And
bloody hell, I've got a lot to Google after this, Mike. I've got a pack to go. Hey, stop shucking these. And
it pains me. No, but it pains me because Holger beat him in 2023 Monte Carlo quarterfinal quite comfortably, and then we played him in the Rome final, and you're thinking he hates clay, and the level isn't quite sort of what it is in terms of a clay quarter, and he played a great final in terms of his mentality and what he
adapts so well.
Oh wow, what a player. So and again he's a Grand Slam champion, he's been world number 1, why not? But
he's got to the quarterfinals. That's his best Roland Garros appearance, 2021. He's playing some great tennis. He's so good for tennis, Medvedev, because he's so intelligent. He's so insightful at the end. Best interview after the matches by a long way. He is absolutely brilliant. And he's teamed up so well with Thomas Johansson now. It's so good to see him play. I don't think he's going to win on clay courts. I think he's going to win maybe another Grand Slam on hard courts, depending on what else happens. But he's fun. He's a lot of fun.
And was last thing, Any storylines to look out for? Might not be winning, just a different storyline. It might be the heat in Roland Garros that's going to cause problems. It might be the French crowd that somebody's going to react to. What do we got to look out for?
A boring one, potentially, a politics one, but I just read before we came on air that the top players are not going to do any interviews apart from the mandatory interview as a boycott to all of the media channels about the prize money scenario. So this is an interesting progression. It's a little bit boring because basically they're going to do the mandatory one that they need to do after the matches in the press room, but they're not going to do everything else for your TNTs and your France TV and all of this sort of stuff.
Candy's going to be out of a job. This is not good, Candy.
Well, so I do think there's some legs in terms of what's going to happen with the prize money scenario, but Patch said it best the other day. There's two things he said. Is first of all, you're comparing apples with oranges in terms of you're looking at NBA and NFL and all of this, and they're team sports, they're franchises. Why are we comparing tennis with those sports? Let's compare it with golf, and we're comparable to golf. And why are we going after more money at the Grand Slams when it's the main tour events that are paying nothing? I mean, being on the women's tour mainly this year,
pitiful.
It's pittance. It's you're playing a 250 and the player is not breaking even until I don't know, they make a quarters or semi. So it's like 4 or 8 players are breaking even at a 250 if they're having a mini team or something. So for me, we need to actually look at the prize money in the tour, not the Grand Slams. The Grand Slams, the money I think is fantastic for the players. It's if Linda qualifies on Friday, she's taking home nearly 100,000 euros, and I think that's where we need to look at it a little bit more. So it's interesting they're going after the slams, but I think it's the wrong way. And I agree with Petch when he said that on the tennis channel the other day.
And that's the unfortunate thing, because I think the players lose sympathy because we're looking at the majors going, well, this is a lot of money. What are you worried about? And we're not looking at what we should be, what we're looking at. So I think that maybe at the top end, there's a few of them, aren't there, that maybe are getting a little greedy. And they're not actually thinking about the players rank kind of 100, down there where they and the doubles people, of course, who are doing such a great job. So it's being sort of lost in translation. I think we're looking at the wrong spot.
But is that not also, to defend that position a little bit, the figures that are coming out of Grand Slams are astronomical in terms of profit?
Mm.
I mean, there was something like, US Open, people are paying $300 for a ground pass on Labor Day weekend. And, you can hardly walk around the grounds. Then you've got that, I would never drink such a drink. What's that drink? The
honey juice?
Honey juice.
I believe they make enough money for the prize money, don't they, just by selling honey juices?
Yeah, it is, exactly. So, and even if we take the honey juices, when Gabby and Aaron won US Open last year, and we might have had quite a bit of Moet champagne afterwards, half of it was over my bloody head. I went around the grounds, and in my potentially a little bit tipsy state, I let the people behind the bar know that my team have just won a Grand Slam, and could they give me a honey juice to celebrate? And they said, yes, we can. That'll be $27. And I was like, no, but can you not just give me one? Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't think you understand. They've just won on that big court over there. They've just won over on that big court. They are taking that $27 off everyone, right? So it's the money is the end. They are the talent. At the end of the day, the tennis players are the talent, and these events are making millions. So, in all fairness, I don't know if the ATP WTA are quite making that amount of money. I know it comes down to percentages, and we could jump into this for the next half an hour, but I also can see it's a bit like anything. Human nature, if it's out there, we're making all this money and everyone knows the slams are making all this money and we've got this power. Okay, well, we're the ones that people are coming to see, so give us a bit. That's the mentality. So whether it'll only work if everyone does it right, and if the top guys really nail into it, and then maybe it starts moving down into, like you say, the qualifying players and stuff like that. We'll see. I've got a little bit more of a I don't think that's a boring one, by the way, Mike. I think it's an important topic, but mine's certainly not boring, but it's also certainly not that serious either. But I just hope that Moutet manages to keep his pants on during the French Open. There's and with the French crowd, if they start booing him, God knows what he might resort to doing if he's having a bit of a bad day.
I'm just glad we're on the backside of that problem.
You've been watching Arsenal. You've been watching the Arsenal. Did you see the Arsenal match the other day when the guy slid and his pants came down because
it was a Gordon Strachan moment almost.
Yeah, it was. So what about you, Candy? From a media side, what's the story? What are some of the storylines? What are you looking out for? Not just the winners, but what are you?
Well, I'm just worried about we're not going to be able to do any interviews now. Mike,
you're going to have to have storylines to talk about.
Do we know if there's going to be interviews on court? Because of course the players generally, when they win, are they going to do those?
Well, literally the article that I read in The Athletic was, I think, published like 1 hour before we came on here.
Okay.
I skimmed read it, so I don't know that. Sorry. That's
naming other podcasts, naming other broadcast newspaper. I mean, blinking out.
I'm desperate.
These are our competitors.
I'm desperate.
These are our competitors, Mike.
What's the story? I just think I'm very excited. I mean, I'm not very excited, but I think on the ATP side, if Jannik Sinner loses early, I think it's going to be absolute carnage.
Be amazing.
It's going to be carnage. I just think the quality of the likes of the players that could win, they'll all start thinking about it, and it's just going to get horribly tense. And for the viewer, it's going to be really exciting.
Yeah, and sorry, Jannik, but it's what we all want.
I love Jannik Sinner.
I love Jannik Sinner. I love him, but it's boring. I said it earlier. It's boring. It's too, honestly.
He's too good.
Were we saying that about Roger in 04 to 06, which is a long time ago now? But, Roger was doing, he's also doing maybe arguably more than Roger because he's now gone and cleaned up all of the Masters at 24 instead of 31. But what was what Novak did? But were we bored of Roger, or is his tennis?
Never.
You cannot compare him to Roger in terms of, yeah, it is, isn't it?
How dare you speak about Roger like that? It's different. I think it's different, and I think Federer. You always felt there was a chance of a slip up. You always felt there was a bit of that. I like Sinner a lot. I don't like the cluster ball story. That leaves a sour taste in my mouth. But I like Sinner a lot. Seeing him in person, he's always so lovely to everybody. I think he seems like an absolute gem of a person. I find his tennis boring. I do. I find his tennis boring, and I find it boring that he's just winning so easily all the time. Like Rome, and I was in Rome pretty much towards the end. It was boring. You knew it was like, he's 5-2 up. He's playing Rublev. There wasn't even a consideration. Maybe Rublev plays well today and has a chance.
Did you see Safin's, if it was translated correctly, we have to always add this in.
He's not boring.
No, he wasn't boring, was he? But you can Google him. You'll enjoy that. I know you know him, but it's what he said in the box, during the match. He said, I won't swear, but he said, how can you not believe that you can beat him in this match now? And he could what he's basically saying there is he can see his player doesn't believe that he has a fighting chance. So what the hell are we doing here?
Yeah.
And Rublev's ranking is top 15 right now, or whatever. And that's just the state of where Yannick's got everyone in. And this is the problem. The tennis court hasn't changed size, right? So it's been the same size since the day of time, and players have become more efficient with the movement and the technique and all the technology and all of this. And Sinner has got to this point of it's been coined so much that he's Djokovic 2.0 because he does everything faster and closer to the baseline than Novak did, and he moves arguably better than him. So what do you do? Unless he has, he looked like he was having an anxiety attack against Medvedev before the rain delay the other night, quite a bad one. maybe the pressure.
He seems to, think he's like in touch with God or something, because every time he struggles, it bloody rains. Like it happened to Australia twice. Oh no, the net fell apart.
No, I was on the court in the players' box for that match, and I couldn't believe Holger had him. You can argue this. Holger had him on the ropes. It was 1-all, and the net broke, and Yannick was sick, and he had food poisoning, which I know now afterwards. And the team were like, "We need something to happen here."
Dimitrov at Wimbledon, 2-0 up.
No, it's incredible.
The injury went. This year in Australia, he was playing. He was cramping against
with the roof. What happened?
And then they stopped it because of the heat.
Yes,
but they did stop it. They stopped it 5 or 10 minutes. They stopped it 5 or 10 minutes before the outside courts.
Yeah,
and then they closed the roof.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Was that against Spizzirri? Elliot Spizzirri, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That was crazy.
So, look, there'll be a match. There will be a match. There'll be a match in Roland Garros that losing is a possibility for Jannik Sinner, to whether he loses or not. If he can get,
like you say, God will intervene, so then it doesn't matter anyway. So
let's see, guys. It was a pleasure, Mike. Thank you for making your debut. Sorry for calling you a virgin at the start. You know what I mean. Debut, your virgin appearance.
He's always hopeful to work for Richard Branson anyway.
Candy, as ever, thank you so much. And obviously Freddie Nielsen. A good luck on Friday to Linda. Well done on a great start to the year, and it'd be nice to qualify for another major after Australia as well. So good luck. A big thank you, guys, and hopefully see you out in Paris in a couple of days. So there we have it. We have lots of opinions. We're not shy of an opinion. Some of them I'm sure you will agree with. Some of them you won't. But I always feel energized at the end of those conversations. I feel very lucky to have the opportunity to speak with these amazing people about our incredible sport. And I myself, the next time you hear me, I will be out in Paris myself. We'll try and get in touch. We'll maybe try and do some live shows on YouTube once we're out there. If you want to hear from us, please do reach out. As ever, thank you for your support on the podcast. Let us know who is going to be our Roland Garros champions of 2026. Is it going to be winner, Jannik Sinner? I think we all expected. Or the panel going to be right? Is it going to be too much for him? He's won so many matches over the last few weeks. And the women's draw wide open. And let's see who it's going to be. I think it was obvious who we thought it would be a few weeks ago, but the landscape is changing all of the time. And then we've, of course, got the doubles events, which I'm going to be heavily involved with on the men's side with Andre Goranson and Evan King, and on the women's side with Gabby Dabrowski and Louisa Stefani, and then mixed doubles as well. We all love the mixed doubles. US Open's taken that to another level, in terms of the profile of the mixed doubles event. And then we've got our juniors, we've got our wheelchair tennis. There's a lot of tennis to look forward to. Hope you enjoy it wherever you are. But until next time, I'm Dan Kiernan, and we are Control the Controllables.